Hello, Joe Vegan and I have agreed to ask each other three questions rather. I made a video, but I had too much supporting information explaining the questions. I'm not even going to do that because these questions are not tests. If there's something unclear in a term of the question, the person can ask. And so listen to that, Joe Vegan. When you ask your three questions and I answer, it's not a test. You don't get to grade my answers. You don't get to go, oh, wasn't it honest, this and that and the other. You could say, this didn't seem honest to me, explain yourself. Fill it in with more honesty. Or I didn't understand, you're using this term, I think, in a non-conventional way. What did you mean? Or do you realize you're misusing a term possibly? You can criticize, don't tell me that, oh, well, there was your answer and you didn't fill it. I mean, I can fill in, I get to add clarity. If I contradict myself, you can point it out and so on. But I also get to say, yes, I contradicted myself. I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is the part I believe. This is the way I would like to cast my answer. And if you want to make something of the contradiction historically, fine. But don't say that I haven't, like, possibly learned and taken the other view. Right, okay. So the three questions as briefly as possible. And, there's reasons to know what I'm getting at. But first of all, is the blackness of coal and the clarity of diamond a physical property of coal and diamond respectively? Okay, so is the blackness of coal a physical property of coal, and is the clarity of diamond a physical property of diamond? Okay. 2, how do you think categories of knowledge change? Right? We have biology and chemistry, two different fields, certainly at one point very different, merging. You have the invention of biochemistry, and eventually probably biology will be understood as a subset of chemistry, just like organic chemistry is a subset of chemistry, just as chemistry and physics went through this, although they have very different histories, as different histories as any of the sciences probably. And chemistry has this history through alchemy. It eventually was refounded on physical issues, physical chemistry, and so although it has its own department and is a specialty, it's a specialty of physics, much like astrophysics is a specialty of physics. So how do you feel these categories change? When does the meaning of chemistry change from a kind of alchemy to being a kind of physics, or a new term takes over the meaning of the old term, or a new term is invented and then the old term just absorbs that meaning? What is that process for you? Finally, do you understand my point that when someone says something is categorized as metaphysics, when you talk about embodied mind and framing, you're bringing in a whole bunch of concepts. And frankly, this technical idea of a new metaphysics that philosophers can use to think about metaphysics is not what it means in general. So for example, on YouTube or elsewhere, it brings in all of this history, all of those three criteria that are mentioned in that article. And that is what I'm rejecting. I'm not saying you can't look into consciousness and free will, obviously, because I believe in doing that. And I am doing that. I just don't believe you should do it in the framework of metaphysics that does include things like beyond testability or non-physical or unchanging. The framing includes that. Do you understand? I'm rejecting the framing of metaphysics. Okay, cheers.